Real Estate Investment Show, where we talk about everything real estate here in Nigeria. This show is designed to inform you, to educate you, and help you make the best decisions whenever you want to invest in real estate in Nigeria. And yes, it is brought to you by Fortreal Rei Ltd, real estate company right here in the city of Abuja. And this show comes your way every Friday, so you have to subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss out on any of the episodes that we are going to be bringing your way every week. Ladies and gentlemen, again, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and basically stay in touch. And then, yes, we would like for you to participate. And for you to do that, you have to comment, give us feedbacks, ask questions that we would like to entertain on this channel. I think it's a good time to hand over to the host.
Hello, and welcome back to this wonderful show. My name is Martha Ike, and to my right is... and my left?
Raymond Ijeomah.
Okay. As it is our culture and tradition, we address 3 questions on every episode. And for this episode, we'll be addressing what is the difference between offer letter and allocation letter? What are building prototypes? And is it okay to buy a product between you and your spouse?
What kind of product?
Oh, product to say. Well, when we get to that question, you will know the kind of product we will be talking about.
All right.
Interesting that. So without much ado, let's jump right in. Our first question is, what is the difference between offer letter and allocation letter? And with all honor due Barrister Raymond, please, we would like you to address that.
Now that somebody, this is the second time or the third time on this show that somebody is calling me Barrister Raymond. This is a good time and opportunity to correct that notion. My name is Raymond Ijeomah. All right? We are told not to address ourselves as Barrister Raymond Ijeomah. I personally don't like it.
Esquire.
Or you can say Raymond Ijeomah Esquire.
Okay.
I think that works.
Okay.
So you want to do that again, or I can talk?
Yeah, no.
All right, great. Okay, so offer letter and allocation letter. So this, I'm going to address this based on experience. The basic idea of an offer letter is that somebody's offering you something, right? And then allocation is that they are allocating something to you. Now, I'm going to have to paint a scenario. So, for example, you want to buy a land from my company, right? When you reach out to us, and then you say buy a fund, or you indicate interest in buying that product, we can decide to give you an offer letter. So, in that offer letter, you have offer letter, blah, 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 so plot, amount, and put out in the bank details that you're going to pay money to if this is acceptable by you, right? So all of those terms and conditions and all of that, that's what we showed in the offer letter. And then we present it to you, right? So if it's okay by you, how you are able to come on board is that you now transfer funds, or some companies will have where you accept that offer. Okay. You write accepting that offer, sign, date, and all of that. And then when we accept that, so when you accept that rather, now it depends on, so if you eventually pay in full, then you get an allocation letter.
Okay.
Right? You are entitled to an allocation letter. Right? If you didn't pay in full, what you are entitled to is a provisional allocation, right? And some persons will, for even the first one, give you provisional offer.
Oh, okay.
Right? So it just depends. But the basic idea is that, let's even come back a bit. The basic idea is that alpha, you get party to sell, right? Okay. Or alpha, I say party where you put for market. Or alpha, I'm interested in that property. And you're like, okay, how much? This guy says, okay, 5 million. Like, no, not 2 million I get, or now 4.5 I get. The moment he accepts, that is so, at that point, there's already offer an acceptance.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Right? It has some technical implications, especially when you've reached any of it. But the entire summary, based on what we're talking about now, the summary is that that document that the company gives to you as a way of that you can use to solidify your interest, and then that can be referred to as offer. And if you complete the payment, you get allocation, right? And then if you don't, or if you pay just a bit, then you get provisional allocation. Some companies have just different policies, but this is the basic explanation between or difference between offer letter and allocation letter. I've actually seen a company that gives offer letter with allocation in mind. Oh, that's wrong.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So it's okay to say that the offer letter is a time-bound document. Yes?
Yes. So some companies will give you that offer letter and say you have 3 days to accept that offer. Right? If you don't accept that offer, then they can give it to another person.
Oh,
and this is not the show to talk about all of that. There are legal stuff around issue of offer and acceptance, but let's leave it at the basic.
Okay, so you can say that if the time given to you is elapsed, that company can automatically give that product to somebody else that is willing to accept.
Yeah. But within that period, that 3 days or 7 days that they give, depending on the company, they can't give that same product, that same allocation, or that same plot to another person.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So our next question is, what are building prototypes? So who is going to do me the honor?
I'm having help.
Okay. So building prototypes, I'm going to make it I'm going to make it very simple so everybody can understand, because we all know that it's not everybody that knows in real estate terms and all that. So, for example, you buy a piece of land, or you buy an estate, or you buy anything at all that has to do with real estate, and it's land. There is a governing, how would I put that now? There's something that governs the way people should put up their structures in that particular area, especially in cities like Abuja that is already purposeful. It is purposefully built. So there is a governing type of how you should put up your structure. For example, I know earlier in the show we've talked about some kinds of houses, like say the bungalow, duplex, and terraces, and all that. So there is a kind of building that should go up in certain areas, following the city's master plan. So when you're talking about prototype, that is what we're referring to. The approved building type. That is just as easy and as simple as possible. So you don't go putting up a bungalow where you should have a duplex, or a duplex where you should have a bungalow. Yes, exactly. So you just have to follow the approved building type in that particular area. So that's just simple.
Okay. So, and you can't say, it is what I want to build.
I have my if you want to have your style and your type, you go to your village or more keke.
So, I know that in Nigeria as at large, let's leave Africa out of it, but in Nigeria, we see a spouse lose their spouse, or you see couples lose one of them, and especially if it is the man that died, the wife is stripped of any property, any landed property that the husband owned or they co-owned. So this question is it okay for couples to buy properties with their spouse? Is it okay for a husband to buy a property with his wife? Is it okay for the wife to buy a property with her husband?
Okay. Well, I'll just say a few things before we hand over to our EO of that. So yes, of course, it is okay to buy properties with your better half, your husband, your wife, and what have you. However, there is a process to it. There is a process that should be followed diligently. so that you do not encounter issues in future. This is where you engage the services of the right professionals to handle your documentation process. Yes, okay, it is all right. It's very okay. You can buy as much properties in the names of both you and your husband, but there's a technicality to it. You know, you have to stand as an individual, write on the documents. Although yes, we all know that husband and wife come together and you're one, but right in the documentation process, you have to state specifically that you are Mr. A and this is Mrs. B. Okay? So that in case of eventualities, it will be an easy way to, resolve the issues without going to the rent and the breadth and somebody will end up losing this and all of that. So, yeah, so over to you, Mr. Raymond. What would you like to chip into it?
Okay, before Mr. Raymond says something, so are you saying that in property law, there is nothing like 1 + 1 = 1?
Absolutely. 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 So we'll hear from our Olga.
Okay, so why don't we start by saying that, okay, so this is a very sensitive conversation to have, and it's also one that requires some level of elaboration, and we don't have all of that time to do that. So I'm just going to make some specific statement, and then it's okay for our participants to maybe request for more light.
Of course.
And let them drop questions, right? So, and then if we would have to repeat this conversation in subsequent episodes, we'll do that.
Well,
right. But for the purpose of today's episode, let me start by saying that my opinion, especially if you are that kind of husband or man that has some level of interest for your family. So I would advise at that point that you try to marry statutorily. That helps to give certain level of protection to your family as against the extended family. If you marry just at a customary level, then the door is largely open to a lot of things. So this is not supposed to be part of this, but it's somewhat is related.
Okay.
Because there's a level to what the paper can achieve behind what certain tradition and custom hold, right? So with that said, the issue of husband and wife buying property together, of course, it's something that makes sense to do. Parties have to be with one mind doing it. But when issues of separation come into play, different minds in question. But like she mentioned, the very first priority is make sure that you're not doing Mr. and Mrs. Raymond Ijeomah.
Okay.
That's the very first mistake that a lot of, I can't blame the clients. There are lawyers that prepare those documents, and they are supposed to be the ones in the know as it relates to that kind of issue. And that's why I would like to always try to seize every opportunity to say that there are property lawyers, there are criminal lawyers, or there are lawyers who are focused as a niche in criminal law. That some are focused on the entertainment law. Law is quite wide, right? So even though we like to call ourselves learned or know everything, that's not the reality actually, right? So that's the reason a lawyer will prepare a document with Mr. and Mrs. It's simply because he or she doesn't know. Right. So, and that blame goes to lawyers, not to the husband and wife. But the right thing to do is to prepare it as Mr. Raymond Ijeomah and Mrs. Mirabel Raymond Ijeomah. Right. So separately, even though on one document. And of course, they should sign separately. In fact, it's funny incident that happened. We had these situations where, with, of course, prior transactions, and maybe they want to sell. And then you ask questions like, so who's going to sell? Who's going to sign rather? Now that we have one name, Mr. and Mrs. Raymond Ijeomah, who signs? But there was one that I personally prepared, Mr. the man's name and then the wife's name. A lawyer came on board and then wrote their names together with one column. And then the issue was, because that the client was quite close to me. I was one that prepared the document when they were buying. So now that he was selling, the other party had to bring in their own lawyer. And because my client already understood this, he was of the opinion that why not separate it? And the person in question who prepared the document said that the wife can sign as witness, while the husband should sign on that column. And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. Even to the logical, to a layman, that doesn't make any sense. So you understand it. So first, ensure that separate names, ensure that separate columns are fine, so that that thing can flow, the title can flow as it should in a very competent way. And then apart from that, there's another level to it, which is try to define and determine what level of equity or ownership you want. Is it tenancy in common? Is it joint tenancy? That has a technical meaning to all of that, but just have an idea of what you want to do. Is it 50-50? Is it 60-40? Is it 30-70? All of that have to be defined. And when you carry your lawyer alongside, he or she will now know how to properly capture that in the document, so that in case of any eventualities that leads to court or separation or anything like that, certain things are already very clear.
So you mentioned we should take our lawyers alongside the process. So I dare say you need to identify a very knowledgeable and informed property lawyer to take through this process.
Exactly.
Thank you very much.
So don't get yourself a medical lawyer while you're going to acquire real estate or anything real estate related. Well, you've heard it all for this episode. Is there any question you want us to address? Leave it in the comment section. And is there a question we've not addressed properly and you want to put in your own beat or your own expanse of knowledge in it? Please do leave it in the comment section. Do not forget to like, to comment, and to share, because knowledge is never limited. Share with other people so they can have the knowledge of real estate even before they decide to invest in real estate. And we are signing out. Bye for now.